We're going to talk about parenting in the digital age. When I was a parent with little ones, we did not have smartphones. We had a computer, we had laptops, but we did not have the smartphone. So how many of you have a smartphone? Raise your hand. Everyone, Samwanya. Right? Okay, so your smartphone for you, because you are a little bit younger than me, and because it's part of your culture and how we communicate now, is a part of our lives, right? And it's a really good, useful tool. It's like carrying around a baby computer, right? It does lots of things for you. It's extremely useful. In fact, you will probably use it some today to take pictures of slides, right? Later, I will send you this PowerPoint on WhatsApp to your smartphone. How lovely will that be, right? So that you can be like, what did she say again? You can go look at it, especially if you want to do more reading and research about anything that we talk about today, because I have a bibliography at the end that shows you where I learned my information for this presentation. And in fact, a lot of this information today is really just taken from several different articles that I read from healthychildren.org, which is a great website. It is a website that is created by the American Academy of Pediatrics, and it is powered by pediatricians and trusted by parents. It's medical, neurological, physiological information about your child's development. Is it from a Christian perspective? No. It is just overall kind of science-driven information, but it's very, very helpful. So I read some articles like Kids and Tech, Tips for Parenting in the Digital Age. Healthy digital media use, habits for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. Parents of young children, put down your smartphones. That's the title. Cognitive development in preschool children. So I did a whole bunch of research to try to put together for you some of the best information that's the most current information about what is good and what is not good for our children growing up in this digital age. So this is not a conversation that says technology is evil. No. Technology is a tool, just like a book is a tool, just like a toy can be a tool. It's just a tool to deliver information. How we choose to use it is the key. And what's really important is you have the job of training your little ones how to grow up in a world where there's a lot of information and it comes very quickly. And one of the issues or problems with that is there's so much information. How do we know what is the truth? How do we know what is beautiful? How do we know what is good for our children to see and to take in? And how do we train them to distinguish between good information and bad information? Right? Okay, so a lot of issues growing up in the digital age. It's a glorious, wonderful tool and a wonderful time. But it also comes with a very large responsibility on your shoulders because you are training your children how to interact with this tool. Okay? So, what questions do you have? If you were coming to this today, you probably have some ideas or questions about what you want to know or how you want to information that you want to take away. So does anyone have any burning questions that they hope this seminar will address? Ada pertanyaan tentang topik ini? Like, saya mau mengerti bla 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 bla. Or saya mau Ibu Denise menjelaskan bla 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 bla. Apa? Ya, berani sekali. Bagus.
Digital age kan ini luas banget ya. Saya minta dijelasin itu gimana proteksinya gitu.
Betul. Oke, bagaimana protect anak-anak? Bagus pertanyaan. Lagi? Ada lagi? Hanya itu? Berapa orang ada sama pertanyaan? Bagaimana protect ya? Ya, betul. Okay, so I'm glad that you mentioned that because I included a little bit of that in here, but I can give you a little more, so I'll make sure I explain a little more, okay? Okay, so next, let's go to the slide. How do we parent in the digital age? We are busier than ever, and we're constantly connected, right? Because of our technology. Smartphones are great devices. They have good uses, but what else? They can be a hindrance. They can be a barrier or a wall to healthy relationships. Checking the phone for you as a parent is necessary. You need to do that to manage your work and your home life. However, it can also become a go-to habit. Kalau bosan, is that the word? Boring? Bored? Kalau bosan, apa ini? Atau anak-anak bermain dekat saya, oh, saya mau cek ini. Suddenly, you go into, even though you're physically present, you're not mentally present. And your children know it. Your children know that. When they see you on the phone, oh good, she's busy. Saya call. I want to go find something to get into because she's distracted or he's distracted. Or maybe, kasihan saya. Saya di sini dan saya mau bermain dengan sama mama, sama papa, tapi mereka selalu membaca smartphone. Right? It can become a way that creates a barrier in healthy relationship between you and your child. It's a tool, but today I actually want to talk most not about your children's usage, but a little bit more about your usage. Because you are penting sekali, you are the role model. How they see you interact with technology is what they will learn. Ibu saya, waktu saya kecil, anak kecil, dan saya nakal sekali waktu saya kecil. Saya selalu mau cari jalan yang sendiri dan yang saya mau, tidak mau ikut ibu. Enggak mau, saya mau ini. Seperti itu. Jadi, ibu saya selalu berbicara, okay, do what I say, not what I do. Karena waktu saya menjadi sedikit lebih besar, saya berkata, mengapa kamu bla 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 dan saya tidak boleh, right? Khususnya dari dia merokok dan dia berkata ke saya jangan merokok dan saya oke ya jangan merokok, tidak bagus sekali dan nanti mengapa kamu merokok, right? So of course when I got old enough to experiment, tahun mungkin berumur 8. Saya mau coba, karena bapak dan saya merokok. Saya sudah mendengar, jangan. Tapi saya berpikir, oh mereka boleh, so mungkin saya boleh. Right? So children will always listen to what you do more than what you say. Because they are imitators. They were made in God's image, and they imitate your behavior. So it doesn't matter what you say about technology, they will watch what you do with it. So that's really important to remember. Kasian, yeah. It's like a little bit barat, right? It's a little heavy on us as parents. Okay, so next. This is a really important quote from the parent, that article that says, parents of young children, put down your smartphones. Too much tech and too little talk could delay communication development. There is now research. In the beginning, when we had smartphones, we didn't know how that was going to impact children's cognitive development. But now, about 15 years in, we have a lot of research. And the research is clear. Your children's brains are developing differently because of technology than your brain developed. That's a fact. So the question is it a good development or a bad development? What do we need to do to make sure they develop well and healthy? And all of the research shows limit, 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 limit. Your personal interaction is most important. Technology is a great tool. It can be useful, but hati-hati, berbahaya sekali. There's dangers on it, but there's also ways that it's training and forming neurons in your child's brain, which actually can harm their later socio-emotional and academic development. And here's how. There is a great slide, and it's in this article that's on the website Healthy.org. It says, Healthy Digital Media Habits for Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. And it says, so media in all forms, also it includes the TV. So TV, computer screens, iPhones, smartphones, all of those sources of media can help and can affect how a child learns to think, how they feel, and how they behave. One of my favorite stories is Clay. He's anak ketiga waktu di sini. Dan pertama kali kami tinggal di sini, dia mungkin berumur 8 juga. And sering sekali untuk lihat Disney Channel di rumah. Dan saya berpikir, oh ya, Disney Channel family friendly. Ya. So suatu hari kami menupir dan I had to say some correction to my children, and Clay did not like it, and he started arguing and talking back. And I said, no, you cannot talk back to mommy. And then Daddy chimed in, hey, you're not treating mommy well. You cannot say that. And suddenly he said, the Disney Channel says I should express myself. That's when Wade and I looked at each other and we said, tutup Disney Channel. He's watching too much Disney Channel, because it did. I remember the commercial, express yourself. He thought, that means I have the right to tell you what I think and to get my way. That was the hidden message that he was learning in some of those family shows like Hannah Montana. And now we see Miley Cyrus and we look and see who she is now and we realize, yikes, what were we doing watching that show? Right? Not good. And so he was absorbing the messages from the television programming, and he was using it back to us because he thought that was right. And so it was good teaching moment. We laughed. We're like, yes, the Disney Channel does say that. But there is a time and a place and a way to do it respectfully and a way that is wrong. And the way you just did it, that was the wrong way. Right? So it's conversation. It doesn't mean we had to completely eliminate the Disney Channel. But what I realized is I need to sit down and watch the Disney Channel with him so that we can then talk about what the messages are that are being communicated. And I can remember what's being shared to his little brain so that I can help guide that back towards God's word, because that's truth, right? Not the Disney Channel. So, children, Younger than 2 years old, these are the recommendations for media use. Children younger than 2, they learn and they grow through exploration, physical exploration of their world. Their minds learn best when they interact and play with people. They are watching the way your face moves. They're watching your facial expressions. They're learning all kinds of things through your words and through your nonverbal communication. If they are in front of a computer screen and they spend more time in front of a computer screen than they do in front of your face or their siblings' faces or their caregiver's face, they are not developing the language part of their brain, and it will severely impact them in the future. Media use should be very limited and only when used by an adult to co-view, talk, or teach. In other words, you have your phone with you and your little one on your hip, and maybe you're talking to daddy who's working in Jakarta, right? Oh, look, there's daddy. Say hi, daddy. Yeah, no problem. Because you're using the technology to stay in relationship with each other, long distance, great. But you don't want to do that for 10 hours a day, right? You definitely don't want to just give the phone to your 18-month-old and say, here, talk to daddy while I make dinner. Not a good idea, because their brain isn't ready for that. So video chatting, no problem. Next slide. 1.5 to 2 years of age. Children younger than 2, they just can't understand what they see on a screen and relate it to their world. Their brain is not wired to do that yet because it's an abstract picture of something. It's 2-dimensional when life is 3-dimensional, right? So it's hard for them to do that. Now, we do it, though, with books, right? We read to them little books and we show a picture of the lion and we say, what does the lion say? Roar, right? And we teach them that. That's great. And even if we leave them with that book on the floor to play with, do they read it? No, they start chewing on it, right? Or they use it as a block, right, to build something. That's fine. But technology doesn't have that ability. Technology doesn't have that ability to be used imaginatively as some other thing. It's just very flat and 2-dimensional. And it won't make sense to a little one who's less than 2. So beginning, though, from about 15 to 18 months, so really that's the best time to show video chatting and to use your phone to show real pictures. So let's say you're reading a board book with animals from the zoo. Then you can, on your phone, show the real life picture of a lion, right? Sure, look, there's a lion. That's the same as this. Roar. What does a lion say? No problem. Maybe you can even make the roar sound and you can have a roaring lion. But be careful, right? Because a big lion with huge teeth and a huge roar that's real life and looks like it's about to eat you, that might be scary. So you have to use your common sense. You don't want to give your child nightmares about going to the zoo. So children can learn from high quality educational media. And here's the key. If parents play or view with them and you reteach the lesson later. So you've seen it on your phone, put your phone down, then go back to the book and talk about the lion. What does the lion like to eat? What is the lion doing? Right? All of that conversation that you're doing with a book is building their communication skills. You can't really do that through a device or just putting them in front of the National Geographic Channel. They can't understand it when they're 1.5 and 2. They don't even know what's happening. So the guidelines for media use. In these years, you need to choose high-quality program that's directed towards their age. Don't show them the National Geographic Channel. Maybe show them Sesame Street or a Barney show or something that's in their, Thomas the Train, right? Where they can learn and relate to something in a simpler, age-appropriate way. Use media together with your child. Don't place your child in front of the TV or in front of a computer as a babysitter so that you can then do other things. It's not appropriate at this age. Because what you just did was communicate to your child, this piece of technology, this is your comfort, not me. This is your source of relationship, not me. This is what I give you when I want to go do my own thing. And you communicate selfishness to your child. What I want to do is more important than you. And that's not a good message, right? So avoid solo media use. Okay, next. Now, 2 to 5 years of age, which is about where your children are in this early childhood world, right? Okay. At 2 years of age, many children can understand and learn words from live video chatting. They can also listen to and join a conversation with their parents. But children 3 to 5 years of age really have a more mature mind, and they are really ready for a well-designed educational program like Sesame Street or Dora the Explorer, right? Something that's geared towards their mindset and giving them information that's age appropriate to help them learn social, language, and reading skills. But still, the key word is limitation. Look at what they recommend. This is including television. iPhone, iPad, computer, television. Limit screen use to no more than 1 hour in a day. If you don't do that, you are retraining how we were hardwired by God to have relationship. What happens is you are starting to establish some really unhealthy things in their mind, such as an inability to remain focused. Because technology moves quickly. You don't, right? Technology is full of flashing colors and sounds happening frequently. That's not true for all of life. In life, we need to sit and contemplate. We need to think. And we need to train their little brains for how to develop the neurons that allow them to sustain focus. Okay? Technology actually hurts that if you do it too much, too soon. Choose media that is interactive, nonviolent, educational, and pro-social. So pro-social means it's, I don't know if you've ever watched, have you seen Barney? Like, so he'll tell the kids, let's sing, right? And then sometimes if you watch, your child will stand in front of the TV and sing the song, like, clean up, everybody, everywhere, right? Or the, I love you, and they stand in front of the TV and they kind of rock and sway, right? Because they are imitating what they see, because Barney is communicating with a group of children and they're participating in a social way, and they're entered into that social imagination, right? And so they're part of that. That's a healthy educational program. But a Barney show lasts 30 minutes. So that means that's 2 Barney shows and you're done. So it's, in fact, we used to, when my kids were little, they loved Barney. And so when they would say, how long until we get to my grandmother's house? It'll be about 1 Barney show. We used to talk to them in terms of how long things were in terms of Barney shows. Because they understood that. They're like, oh, it'll be a while. It's funny. But the thing that's important is also that you're there physically sort of engaging with them. So what I remember about my children is that it was really fun when they were small, because we would watch a Barney program, but I did not use it as a babysitter. I stayed in the room with them, and especially when they were really small, like 3 and 4, they sat in my lap and we watched it together, and then I would join in with the singing and we would pretend to clean up the things around the house or whatever was happening on the show. I remember I was babysitting at that time an older family's children, so they would ride the school bus home to my house. They would get off the bus and they would come in, and that was usually our Barney show time. And what was funny is these children were like in 3rd grade and kindergarten. And so I thought for sure they're not going to want to watch Barney. But my daughter was about 3 and my son was 2. And so it was a really, kind of nice little show for us to watch together. So they would come in, we would have an afternoon snack, and then I'd say, okay, we're going to watch Barney now. The first few days, they would be like, Barney? The older children, I was like, I know, it's for the little ones. Well, here's what I began realizing. The older ones loved it even more. Are we going to watch Barney today? Like, we will. And they would get up and they would sing all the songs, and it became like a kind of a family, almost like a little sing-along, And it was really funny to me because Barney modeled really good manners and modeled for the children how to interact well with each other, how to solve problems, how to do things together. It was so great because the family that these children came from was a broken family, and this gave them a picture of what healthy relationship looked like. And they really, really enjoyed it. And I thought that was kind of funny. And it was good for my little ones to watch the older ones do it and join with them in it. So it became sort of a community kind of experience versus you sit there while I go make dinner, right? Or while I look at my own phone and do my own thing. Okay. But the other thing is, don't just do technology. Find other activities for your child to do that's healthy for their body and mind. And we'll talk about what those are in a minute. What does this say? Oh, next slide, sorry. What does that say? You are your child's best teacher, not technology. Technology is a tool used in a limited way with little ones. So we're going to watch a quick little video that is on this link. And do you see the picture even there? This is a mama involved in a technology educational little program, but doing it with the child. So there's conversation, there's talking, there's interaction. It's not just the child independently pushing buttons by themselves and not speaking, not communicating, not looking at a person, right? So let's see what this video shows.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Hill with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kids today are surrounded by screens, starting when they're babies. But children don't need to learn to use technology right away. Toddlers learn best by playing, reading, talking, and singing with their parents. You, not an app, are your child's best teacher. When you are ready to introduce media, choose wisely and set some boundaries. Visit healthychildren.org/media use plan to create your plan.
He talks really fast. So there were closed captions under it. Did we lose the captions, Ricky? When you downloaded it, it didn't download the closed caption. Okay. So we're going to watch it one more time so you can hear it again because it's only 30 seconds long. But then I want you to notice an answer to your question that you asked about how do I create a healthy, how do I protect my children?
Hi, I'm Dr. David Hill with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kids today are surrounded by screens, starting when they're babies. But children don't need to learn to use technology right away. Toddlers learn best by playing, reading, talking, and singing with their parents. You, not an app, are your child's best teacher. When you are ready to introduce media, choose wisely and set some boundaries. Visit healthychildren.org/media use plan to create your plan.
healthychildren.org, and it's a family media plan. So you can go online and you can actually create your own family media usage plan. and it gives you suggestions and ideas for how to do that. And it's very, very helpful. Another really good resource for protecting your children from technology that teaches you things like how to put, how to set settings and how to download certain apps that are filters that allow for protection. They will also be on this website at healthychildren.org. They have those kind of things. Another website that's good that's from a Christian perspective is Focus on the Family. So focusonthefamily.org is another website that has a whole section on media usage, and it has a section that even will have someone who's previewed a movie or previewed an educational game for you and gives you the information on the content, what, like, is there any violence, what kind of words, language that's being used, messages that are being communicated, and they give you really good overview, so you don't have to go do all that research yourself. They have people that do the research for you, and you can make wise, informed decisions about what kinds of programming you want to watch and what kinds of books you want to read and what kinds of educational games you want to use. Okay, and they also have suggestions for how to put safeguards on your devices, that when you do allow a child at some point to own their own device, how you can monitor that and make sure that you're creating a safety net, that they're not accessing information you don't want them to access. Okay, next slide. So this is an important statistic. 80% of a child's brain development occurs within the first 3 years of life. That's amazing. The development of speech and language skills is strongly linked to thinking ability, social relationships, reading and writing, and school success. My foster son, Jeremiah, you've heard me talk about them. When he came to our family, he was 17 years old. At 17 years old, he did not know how to tell time. He could not tell time. He didn't know how many days were in a month. He did not really know which day of the week he was in and what might be coming. Like if you said, what's next week? It's like you're talking Greek. When you asked him to add and subtract, he could only do numbers 1 through 10. Anything that used regrouping, couldn't do. Because when he was 0, 1, 2, and 3, no one interacted with him. He was left on a floor and ignored because his parents were strung out on drugs. When I took him to the psychologist to get an evaluation, she said, I've never seen such severe language delay. And she said, there is no recovering. This was set when he was 3 years old. He can't overcome this. For him to try to tell you his feelings is so difficult. He's like a child who kicks and hits when he's angry because he doesn't know how to use words to express himself. His decision-making processes are so poor. His ability to hear and understand information is so low. He has come a long way being in our family, but still to this day, he just called us on Sunday crying. And he said, I've done something really terrible. I need you. And he's explaining his thinking as best he can in his words, and it's confusing. He doesn't ever tell a story from the beginning, middle to end. The way he tells a story is just information, and the person who's listening has to sort of sequence it and figure out what's happening. So it took us over an hour to understand. But it's because when he was 3, no one interacted with him. He does not have the ability to think about an action and what is the consequence going to be that follows it until he's experienced it. Isn't that sad? And that is what is happening to lots of children right now, even in good families, because moms and dads are on their phone and they're not in relationship with their children. And so you don't want that for your children. So please know that you have to be disciplined and you have to limit when you're on this phone. And there need to be times where you say, I'm not going to look at it because I'm going to be fully present where I am. Okay. Next. Click again. Why do we need to limit media use? First, children don't get enough sleep. If you're using a screen, the lighting from the screen actually activates the frontal lobe of your brain. And that is what causes sometimes children not to be able to go to sleep, or you to not get good sleep at night. If you are on your device right before you go to bed, you've just stimulated all of the frontal lobe of your brain. And then when you put it away and you're like, okay, now it's time to sleep, your brain is like, boing, I'm wide awake. So it's best to give yourself 1 hour no screens before sleeping. And it's absolutely essential for your children. So if you're going to read an ebook, that's fine. Don't do it an hour, like do it before bedtime, long before bedtime. But if you do it right before bed, you've actually made it harder for them to go to sleep. Okay? So use a physical book, not a digital screen. The next thing, we just talked about it. You have delays in learning and social skills if you're not having interaction with people and time to play and imagine. Next thing, obesity. Obesity is becoming a problem, not just in America, but all over the world because of screens. Because children who used to be outside riding their bikes or running around playing tag are now sitting down in front of a device and using their thumbs. Their thumbs are getting a lot of exercise. My thumb is very, very healthy from all the texting. My legs, not so much. So I need to use my legs. And as you get older, I'm just going to tell you, you lose what you don't use. I'm just telling you from experience. If you're not using your muscles will not stay with you. So I am in a job right now that's very sedentary. I sit a lot in front of the computer and meet with people. It is hard on my body. I have to force myself to get exercise because I've seen research that says sitting is the new smoking. The effects of being sedentary are just as bad for your long-term health as smoking every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't smoke. But I sit. I sit really well. I'm really good at sitting. But I need to be a little better at moving, right? So just know that's true of your children as well. They need to cross the midline. They need to climb. They need to build strong muscles and learn balance. They need to move. And they are not going to want to move if they're in front of a device, because the device does not tell them to move. Now, some games like Wii or some of those kind of games where they're interactive, where you're like those dance things where you like try to step on the lighted, things, or that are like you're playing tennis with a racket, that's better, but it's still not the same as true exercise because I'm not running. I'm just waving my arm. When I really play tennis, I'm running across the court to chase a ball. When I'm standing playing tennis pretend on the Wii, I'm just moving my arm around. That's better than nothing, but it's still not very great, right? Next. Also, if you don't limit technology, it can create behavior problems. Your child does not want to focus. Your child also feels that they need to constantly be entertained. Did you hear that? Entertain me. That is not their goal in life. Our purpose in life is not to be entertained and enjoy ourselves forever. Our purpose in life is to know God and glorify Him forever. And the way we glorify Him is through work. The way we find our most satisfaction as people is when we serve. But just receiving, will never deeply satisfy. And so we need to make sure we're not accidentally training our children to be passive and just receiving something fun and enjoyable instead of life is sometimes hard and it's a challenge and you have to work to overcome it. Okay, next. Some more tips. Don't feel pressure as parents to engage in technology too early. Just because your best friend is doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. When your child says, but so-and-so's mom lets them play on the computer for 5 hours every day. That's so great. But you know what? You are my child. And in our family, we play on the computer 1 hour a day. That's not fair. I know it. Life sometimes is like that, but you know what? I have to answer to Jesus. And I want to make sure that when I answer to Jesus, I've done the thing that I thought was very best for you. I'm not doing it because I hate you. I'm doing this because I love you. And I want you to have a good, healthy brain. And it's good for your brain sometimes to think, what can I do? Instead of, entertain me. Right? Monitor your child's media, which is what she was talking about. Make sure you have good screens and apps that are in place good programs and apps that will monitor, especially on a smartphone once your child is of the age to have one. Turn off the TV and other devices when they're not in use. My friend grew up in a family where the TV was on all the time, and no one was watching it. And when I would go to her house, I would always walk to the TV and turn it off. And she said, why are you doing that? I said, no one's in here watching it. It's just noise. How can you stand that? Isn't that interesting? We sometimes train ourselves to just have noise happening, and we're not allowing our brain time to rest and to think because we're being distracted by the stimulus around us. Turn off things when they're not being used. Keep bedrooms. This is really, really, really important. If I could tell you one thing to do for the rest of your child's life while they're under your house, keep bedrooms, meal times, and parent-child playtimes screen-free and unplugged. Nobody, including mom and dad, brings the phone to the table. We are going to eat a meal together, and we're going to look at each other and have conversation. Nobody is going to bring a device when we're engaged in a game. Now, I understand the idea of capturing a memory, taking a quick photo, but you have to be the one to set the standard as a parent. Put it down and grab a quick photo. Oh, this is so cute. I want to remember that. Okay, great. And now we're going to be here in the moment, building this memory together. Sometimes in our family, we even still say, oh, quick, take a picture with my brain. I don't have to have a picture on my phone. Because the truth is I have thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures. But at the end of the day, there's only a few things that I'm going to remember. And it's probably not going to be all those things. It's going to be moments in time that involved relationship. It's going to be a story that happened with us as a family, right? Or with someone. Okay? Do not use media as a babysitter or as a way to calm your child. Your child is in the store, they're throwing a fit, have the phone. Do not do it. It's so tempting. But it's the same thing as like giving your child a lollipop when they're throwing a fit. You just rewarded the negative behavior. You did not train them. In fact, you did train them. You trained them to do the very thing you don't want them to do. You said, do it more, and you'll get a better reward. Oh, here's the phone next time. Don't do that. It is okay if everyone in the store is looking at you. Just be like, yep, this is life. Children cry sometimes. We're all fine. And then develop a family media plan. And then that slide has the family media plan link on it. So when you get this, you can go right to that link and it'll take you to that website. Okay, next. Apps and ebooks. Well, we've talked a lot about all the bad things with technology. Are there some good things? Yes, here are the positives. Ebooks have the potential to provide learning experiences for children, and they also have capabilities that are impossible to deliver in print. Some things are really fun about TV shows or about a computerized program that's a really good educational tool. So a device, this is one of the best things in Indonesia that I have grown to appreciate. I used to only be a books only person, printed books only. And then I moved to Indonesia. I can't find printed books in Indonesia in English. I can't find the ones I want to read. So I have really grown to love my iPad. Now, it comes with a cost. I love to read before bed, but that's activating my brain. So I've learned how to change my settings on my iPad to be night setting, where it's darker and I have a different color screen, so it's not white. So it's a dark screen, it's got nighttime settings, so it's low lighting. And I check out books online at a free library. It's called the Open Library. And I'll add that to the references at the end. And I love to read Agatha Christie. And that's how I go to bed at night, is reading an Agatha Christie mystery. I mean, I've read them all, but I read them over and over and over because I don't have to think about any of my other problems in my life. I focus a little bit on this, and it makes me sleepy, and then I go to sleep, and it's so happy. And what I love about this particular app is that someone actually photographed the book. So it's reading the real book. It's not on a computer screen. It's like a picture of a book with yellowed pages and stuff. And you like click and it turns the page, you know. So it feels like I'm reading a book. And so that's the way I sort of supplement not having books here in Indonesia that I can easily get, right? So a device can hold a whole library of stories and information, which is great. And you can carry it with you. It's portable. Words and sentences can also be highlighted when you're reading with children. You can circle a word with your app and be like, oh, look at this word. Let's sound this one out together. Let's break it apart. And you can mark it up so that you can practice decoding. And so all of that is kind of fun and good. Children can elect even to have a pre-recorded narrator read the text out loud to them, and they can follow along. That's also a good thing to do. So there's some real positives with ebooks or with apps. I think there's one more. Yep. Children can experience embedded interactive features with the text, right? Where if you click on something, somebody comes alive and they do something or say something, right? So it's kind of like, you know, the old books where they would be those open the window, you know, those, what do you call those? Pop-up. Yeah, like where, you know, it's like, where's the somebody? And you like look under all the little tabs to look to find the mouse or whatever on the page. So it's kind of like that. It's that version. It's an interactive kind of a way to make the story come alive. But here's the downside. Remember these things. Just a couple. A lot of apps that say they're educational really aren't educational. It's sort of like when you go to the store and they all say everything's organic, and then you're like, really? I think I taste some pesticide on this. I don't think this was organic. What do you mean by organic? It grew in the earth? Okay, that's not organic. Right? So don't be, you know, consumerism happens. And so people will say, it's educational. And you're like, is it really educational? Go do the research and find out. And a lot of apps don't encourage the ability to interact with a parent or with someone else while you're doing it. So if it seems to be something that sucks your child in and you can't really participate with them, that's not a good app. You want to be careful because a lot of the ebooks will apps will target rote skills. So they're just memorized skills without developing a deeper comprehension. So be careful of that. It's okay to have some rote skills, but that's not all there is to learning. There's a lot deeper learning to be done. It's only one part of readiness. Next. This is really important. Sometimes there's just too many bells and whistles. In other words, it's too much stimulus happening on the book or happening in the app. And if it's too much, you need to really just either not use it or limit the usage. Because again, we don't want to train our children to have a short attention span. We want to train them to be able to have a focused attention span that can be sustained. Okay, so next slide. All kinds of books, whether they're board books, paperback books, or ebooks, need what? Adult-child interaction. You are important. So you really want to have a parent or a caregiver who's doing these things, asking questions to allow the child to think about the content, and you want to make sure they're making connections and you're checking for their understanding as they hear the story. Make sure they understand it. Next. I loved this page. This was from the tips about how to have healthy communication skills and cognitive development. So first of all, play non-electronic games. Cards, go fish, right? Or if you're, for the little ones, it's like things like peekaboo, patty cake, singing Itsy Bitsy Spider, right? All of those things are promoting face-to-face interaction. They're promoting turn-taking. They also reinforce essential bonding and relational skills. Activities such as blowing kisses, waving goodbye, clapping help build social skills and conversation skills. Those are for the littles. Make sure you're sharing a common focus. This is what we were just talking about earlier. How do you train attention span? It's through this. Read a book together, play with a toy together, or look at something together. Do you see the dog in the park? Look, I can see him. Can you see him? When you both share focus on one thing together, you're training your children's neurons how to sustain focus and how to engage in something in community and not just isolated, okay? And it's called joint attention. That's what that's called in the research world. That joint attention is a huge part of communication and language development. It's also a good social skill because your child learns to see things not only from their perspective, but from another person's perspective. Okay? Also, sharing focus lets your child know that you care and you're interested in what they say and do. Right? Send and receive nonverbal messages. Make sure you're doing this. Make eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, use your body language. And these nonverbal messages are used for you to convey emotion and sometimes the underlying meaning, right? Sometimes we don't always say exactly what we mean, but we communicate it through the way we express ourselves. When your child says, "Mommy, are you angry?" And you're like, No, I'm not angry." And she's like, "Yeah, you are." You're gritting your teeth and right? They know, right? And you didn't even say anything, but they know because they're reading your body. Right? So make sure you're doing all of these things to build communication skills. Next. I love this slide. Technology is more effective when used together. So engage, communicate, learn, and create. Do it together. Next. All right. 4 tips for creating a godly and healthy family culture, and then we'll wrap up. This is actually taken from the Growing Kids God's Way information, but it's also just my own personal wisdom to you. If I could pass on what I've learned from raising my children to you, the next generation, while you're raising yours, this is really important. First of all, you need to be, go back, Ricky, just that first one. You need to be an interdependent family. Why? Because you're reflecting the Trinity. You're reflecting who God is. God is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And God the Father, Jesus the Son, and God the Holy Spirit live in perfect community and harmony with each other. They have distinct roles and responsibilities. They're one essence, one God, but 3 distinct persons, each with a distinct role and responsibility. The Son always listens and obeys and does exactly what the Father tells him. The Spirit always does what the Son tells him. It is such a beautiful thing to study the Trinity and to remember that God created us for relationship. And the way we know that is because we were created in God's image. And how is God created? He said, let us make man in our image. One God, perfect community. Then the very first institution he created after making Adam and Eve in his image is the family. He said, this family, go and be fruitful. Multiply, subdue the earth, care for the earth, be a steward of the earth. He said, you are living in community as a family, everybody with roles and responsibilities to do work. You have work to do as a family together. All of that is the picture you see in the very beginning of the creation story. So that's the kind of family that we need to create. We want that kind of community, a healthy, interdependent, not independent, where everyone is in the car on their own device. Dad's the driver. In America, it would be dad driving. The mom would be on her device. Each child in the back is on their device. They're all in the car together. No one's talking because they're all in their own separate world. I find myself doing it sometimes on the way home from school with Wade. So we have our driver, Pac Edo. Wade's in the front seat. I'm in the back seat. Both Wade and I sometimes grab our devices and we zone out. And then I'll notice Wade is maybe talking to me and I didn't even hear. I'm like, wait, what? Are you saying something to me? Because I'm like wherever I am in my world on what I'm looking at. And Wade says, yeah, I'm talking to you, but you can't hear me. I said, I know. Let me put it down. Okay, what? There's research that says there is no such thing as multitasking. There's no such thing. You do one thing at a time. And multitasking just means you're trying to do 3 things at the same time, but you're not. You're doing one thing and the other 2 things are not really getting attended to. And that's truth. So be an interdependent family culture, not codependent in this unhealthy way where my child is not equipped to solve problems without my mom. That's codependency. But don't be independent where we don't need each other because we all may live together, but we don't really have any relationship. That's not healthy. So how do we create an interdependent family culture? Here are the tips from Denise, and this was what we did in our family. First of all, we eat together. We always, every night, as much as we could, no matter what the schedules were like, we tried very hard every single night to sit down to the dinner table in the evenings for a meal together as a family. So when we moved to Indonesia, it became a little bit different because we had a pembantu who made the meal. I wasn't making it. So it wasn't like the family was participating in making the meal. It was like we were eating at a restaurant every night because someone else I ordered it and then someone made the meal and then it showed up, which was really lovely. But I had to remind myself in Indonesia, sit down, we're still sitting down together, don't rush through the meal, talk to each other, and require the children to take their dishes to the sink and ask how they can help. Just because we have a helper who's hired to do that doesn't mean we need to be lazy. And even when we come home and the table's not set yet, go ask, Dad, how can I help you? How can we help you get the table ready? Oh, I have it. Okay, well, I'll help. I still do that now. I'm 51 and I go home. It's just Wade and I. When we get home, Tati is setting the table and I immediately go in and start bringing things to the table to help her. Because it is rude to not do that. It doesn't matter if I pay her to do that. I should show her that I care and respect for her as a person. And I'm going to help take my dishes to the sink at least. Sure, she's going to wash them. That's wonderful. I love that she does that. But I'm going to carry the dishes to the sink and not just get up and leave the table and expect her to come be my waitress. That's just rude. So I want to make sure that I'm teaching things to my children as I go, and I want to be intentional. So eating together to not only share a meal together, but also share conversation. Hey, how was your day today? Anything funny happen at school? What was your favorite thing that happened today? Oh, let me tell you something that happened to me. Talk. Next, read together. You can do it on the iPhone. You can also do it not on the iPhone, but make sure you're reading both things. Make sure you're reading books digitally, but also in print. And what I would say the most important thing to read is God's Word, which we're going to get to in a minute. 3, plan and play together. Someone said, you know, we always do these family vacations and we plan them for our kids and then we go to this great place and they just fought the whole time. They hated it. They complained. They didn't want to be a part of it. We came home and we don't know why. It was just a disaster. We're trying to build family memories. And a friend said, did you ask your children to help you plan? And I said, oh, we never thought of that. Why don't you talk about it as a family? Discuss where you're going to go, what you would like to do together, and plan it together. And they did that with their next trip, and they said it made all the difference. The kids were completely engaged and participating because they had a voice and they had a part in it. Now, it doesn't mean we give them complete control, but they just need to be a part of it, especially as they get older. That's more for teenagers. In the younger days, they're happy wherever you take them, right? But plan your times together and then play and make sure it's digital free. Next, walk together. This is a really easy one and it's free. And it's that thing about obesity and healthy bodies. Whew, that was a good dinner. Well, who wants to go for a walk with me? Nobody. Okay, I'm picking someone. You come from, we're going to go for a walk. We're going to take 20 minutes and we're going to go around the block 2 times. It is amazing what will happen when you take a walk with your child. They suddenly open up and share things with you that maybe they didn't share in front of the whole family at the dinner table because they have you one-on-one. And it's so biblical. Deuteronomy 6. Teach these things to your children as you walk along the road. Last, worship together. That means read your Bible with them. Pray with them. They should pray for you. You should pray for them. They should share a verse from the Bible that means something to them, and you should share one that means something to you, to them. Make it back and forth. That, if you do this when your kids are young, you are sowing seeds that you will reap a harvest when they are teenagers and adults. To this day, all 5 of my children, even our 2 foster children, they call Wade and I regularly. And they call just to talk. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Here's what's going on in my life. Just to chat. Sometimes it's to say something important. Sometimes it's just to say nothing. But we talk. We are friends with our adult children. And they are friends with us. And they know where to go when they need help and they're hurting. And they also know where to go when they want to share their joy. They call mom and dad. And that's what you want to establish in your family culture. So that one day in the future, that will be your reward. It says, I think in 3 John, I have no greater joy than to see my children are walking in the light. And that is so true. Okay, last slide. Yep, those are my sources. I'll make sure I add the focus on the family one for you, and then I'll share the presentation with you. Thanks.